Hello there, ghost story fans. I'm Scott Markus of whatsyourghoststory.com. And in my recent video, I mentioned that there's a series that I want to get started doing, a bunch of short videos that could probably go on and on and on and on, that will take a look at haunted locations that are also near famous filming locations. I have a background in, well, I guess both, telling ghost stories and working on film sets, film, TV, and it was always fun to me as somebody that had all this background information on what places are haunted, how often we would end up shooting at a place that had a ghost story, a place that was either in my book or just a place I knew about, and it would happen over and over and over again. Each time I thought I was gonna move on and just become a filmmaker, work on sets, I would find myself filming in one of the most haunted places in the planet, and well, something kept calling me back, and that's okay with me because I like both. I like to make movies and tell stories, and I also like to tell ghost stories. And so you might be thinking, oh, it's going to be creepy stories at creepy locations, like horror movie filming locations. We will do a little bit of that, but really it's going to be kind of the opposite on purpose because I like to show the juxtaposition of the extremes. I really thought my first video was going to be a tie-in between the sitcom New Girl on Fox, used to be on Fox, and the assassination of Robert Kennedy, because there's just not enough conversations out there where you can both mention Sirhan Sirhan and Zooey Deschanel. That opportunity does not come up enough. However, I was working on a story that has been an interesting one to me for a while. I've visited the location many times. I've done paranormal investigations at the site. You know it, even if you're not from Chicago. We will be starting in Chicago today. And this is a little bit of a call for information from the new tenants of this building. You know it from the title already. We're going to be taking a look at the Tribune Tower in downtown Chicago. So let's dive on into Google Earth and take a look. As we move in, never mind that pin about a murder location, a different story I'm covering right now. Whoa, look at this building that came up more recently. So I did go to school in the south side of Chicago. I went to school at Columbia College. Wonderful film and television school. Production location. This is Michigan Avenue. This is the heart of downtown Chicago. This very iconic building, you see to the left, you'll see it more as we talk about the filming stuff, is the Wrigley Building. But there's other super iconic location. And by the way, happy 100-year birthday to the Tribune Tower, built in 1922. And as we are recording this in 2022, the building so much connected to the media history of Chicago. So yes, of course, the Tribune, the Chicago Tribune, was housed here for the longest time. A few years back, they switched buildings. They moved to a different location. I didn't know until recently that they actually did their printing in a sub-basement below this building, 2 floors down at river level. They used to take in the huge reams of paper off of boats from the river. And the river, of course, is just right over here as we are trying to navigate looking around all sorts of very tall buildings. So you see the river just went along here, or goes along here. They'd be able to unload the boats at river level into these back loading docks. So I'm not going to get into all the ghost stories. I will share some of my own personal ones. And the reason is because well, we're still putting this story together. We have a lot more information. Huge shout out to a woman named Hannah Stanley, who worked in this building for a long time. She had her own radio show. She used to do fill-ins for a lot of other people that had radio shows here on WGN. And a big shout out and thanks to Patty Vasquez, a good friend of mine, who had a show and would record right down in this corner here. Let's see what all of this looks like. Okay, here we go. So if we come this way just a little bit, you will see this corner area here. This, for the longest time, was the showcase studio, where broadcasts would happen right there, almost like the Today Show, where you would have people walking by in the background. It's radio, it's not television, but still, it was the showcase studio, the live broadcasting for WGN radio. A lot of it happened right here. There are other studios in the building as well. This whole building is going to be converted into condos. Actually, it is condos. People are already living in it, and this space down here apparently is going to become a storefront, which does make sense, but it is also too bad to see times change as much as they are. Hopefully, this lobby stays open for everybody to be able to enjoy, because it is, one, it's historically protected, and two, it is an amazing place. As you see on the outside of the building here, I don't know how close we'll be able to zoom in on it, actually closer than I thought. These are all pieces of historic locations. We have like a rock from the lost colony of Roanoke. I'm not specifically pointing to it. I don't know which one is which, although I think this brick here is from Wrigley Field. Somewhere on here, there is a piece of wreckage from the Twin Towers, the 9/11 attacks. On the inside, there is a piece of stone that is allegedly from the Nativity, where Christ was born. We got a piece of the Parthenon, a piece of the Great Pyramid, a piece of Angkor Wat. All of these historically and sometimes spiritually significant locations are embedded in the building, literally embedded in the building. And so I wonder, do these places, do they hold the energy that they are taken from? And if you're bringing all of these different energies here, are you turning this building, this gorgeous building, into a lightning rod of sorts? There are all sorts of hidden items in the reliefs here, including Howell and Hood. Those are the two architects that submitted the winning bid to create this tower, represented by Robin Hood and a howling wolf, so Howell and Hood. And then up here higher are the two publishers that were in charge of the Tribune back in the 1920s. And for decades and decades after that, there are all sorts of other Aesop's Fables references that all have to do with integrity in journalism. And one of my favorite things that I don't think it's going to be very easy to see here, underneath these two columns here, one right here, you have a guy kind of whispering. His hands are cupped close. Here, I believe, his hands are open like this, and it's the difference between whispers and shouts. And you have to differentiate between a rumor and then shout out the news. I love all of these little aspects of the building. So exiting Street View now, we are looking up, and I cannot remember the exact floor, but it was somewhere around here. It may have been the 7th. I hear there's a lot of ghost stories associated with the 7th floor. Whatever the case, there is a room, as we are somehow accidentally inside of the Wrigley building now. There is a room where that basically just looks like a typical conference room. It's nice. There's nothing all that extravagant about it. But that is the place where apparently if there was a high-level person that needed to be interviewed, they would have a private closed-door interview opportunity at that location. And apparently also that was kind of the hot seat room. Let's say they get Rod Blagojevich, who was all sorts of corrupt, or any number of other politicians that were all sorts of corrupt. This is where the journalists would be able to hold their quiet meetings and basically hold truth to power. And you wonder how many careers ended in that room based on conversations in that room. When I went there, and there's a full video about this, so I do urge you to check that out. It's going to be in the description. It'll be linked at the end as well. But we got an EMF spike, we felt a cold spot, and we heard voices, both with our own ears and coming through a spirit box. So the big time belief among the staff that we got to tour the building with, again, big thanks to Patty Vasquez who lined this up. We were able to go overnight having a huge, iconic Chicago skyscraper all to ourselves. Not many people get an opportunity like that. That is the place that they really believe would have some energy. And, there was never a huge smoking gun moment, but there was enough going on there to make us think that, yeah, they might be onto something. And, that was just us popping in briefly. Who knows had we been able to stay there or keep coming back and continuing to investigate. And as we look up, once we get to the 24th floor, I'll let you do the window counting. I'm not exactly sure which one it is, but the 24th floor was a location that, there are those certain times where you don't need something to be paranormal before you believe that, yes, this place is haunted. Sometimes non-supernatural things are more evidence than you need. And we spoke with the security guards from the moment I got there, even before we went on the air. We went on and we told ghost stories on the air. It was around Halloween time several years ago. And then after the show ended around 2, 3 in the morning, then we had the run of the place. From the moment I got there, I was asking security guards, hey, do you think this place is haunted? Have you guys seen anything? Is there a certain area we should check out? You could tell security guards did not really want to talk about it. They said, yes, it's haunted. There's places we don't like, but they really, really didn't want to get into it. Eventually, they said 24th floor. 24th floor is the floor that none of us want to patrol. When we have to check in on it, we'll poke our head in from the stairwell and then just move on with our day. We do not canvass that area just because we feel so uncomfortable there. And according to them, the belief was that it was the site of suicides. And we don't know for sure. I mean, this building was built in 1922. It was before the Great Depression. We know that there were suicides off of any major skyscraper, unfortunately, during the Great Depression. And even much, much more recent, I was able to uncover a story about a person that jumped off of this building in 2006. Of course, the article didn't give details about exactly what floor they leapt from or anything like that, but it stands to reason that it's possible, at least. At the very least, it's very possible that suicides did happen on that floor. Whatever the case, the security guards definitely didn't like it. Unfortunately for the security guards, because the whole building was locked up, we had permission to go just about everywhere, but that meant that they had to come with us to unlock certain doors. We rode up in an elevator all together, and doors open, we step out, and we're talking with the security guard about his experiences, and then we turn back, and he had already, as soon as the elevator doors opened, he came out and went back down the stairwell. He was gone. Did not want to be up there with us at all. On this night, we didn't experience anything ourselves up there, but again, that reaction, he did not mess around with the fact that he did not want to be in this location. So again, all of that said, I have uncovered more ghost stories about this location, some firsthand accounts involving the elevators, involving the sub-basement, involving more things on that exact floor I'm talking about. I'm not going to go into that here. However, one place you should go is American Ghost Walks Chicago. I'll put the link on the screen and in the description. They are doing a ghost walks through this area, and they will have a lot more information on this site. But before we leave this site, I did say that we were going to talk about one of my favorite sitcoms of all time, because this is the location right down here where Andy and Tom, aka Chris Pratt and Aziz Ansari, come to Chicago to look for Lucy in season 7 of Parks and Recreation. You would think that being next to this beautiful, iconic building, that you would see it, it would feature prominently in the background. However, no, this is an NBC show, and at that time, there was nothing but WGN signage down here, so they actually shot around this location. So shout out to a guy, Mike the Fanboy. Here's where they're setting up the shot. Drizzly, typical Chicago day. The WGN building, the Tribune Tower, I should say, should be behind them, and we do have the Wrigley building in front. Here's a great shot from the Tribune, actually by the Tribune. They just had to step outside of their doors to be able to get this shot. And as I mentioned, yes, the Tribune Tower is becoming living space. And when I talked to a former and longtime employee of this building, and I said, what do you think about the fact that people are going to be living here? She laughed for a long time, actually, first saying just the plumbing was terrible. However, that's been fixed. But that said, the place is so actively haunted. It was not an unusual thing to have a paranormal experience. That's why I want to come to you. If there's any people that live in the building currently, a lot of times paranormal activity gets ramped up when there's a big renovation, when there's construction of any sort. And this is a huge overhaul of a building that has been around exactly 100 years now. And many, many people have spent their lives working within this building in high pressure, high stress, and maybe in jobs that they loved. We know, again, that there was the printing press on site, a big industrial, scary place where we don't know. There may well have been possibly massive injuries that occurred down there. Whatever the case, even staying away from the negative, there's a lot of positive about this location as well, and why you might even want to stay in it because it's haunted. I know I'm one of those types of people. So if you are a resident or know somebody that is a resident of the Tribune Tower, maybe you even found this video because you searched, is the Tribune Tower haunted? Please do drop a line. If you can do it privately if you want. I would love to know if there's activity still going on in the building. I'm sure that there is. How could there not be after all this history? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I've got the content to probably do hundreds and hundreds of this video, of this series. But if there's any specific things you want me to talk about, a specific location, a specific movie or TV show, again, I'm going to be talking about everything from The Office and Parks and Rec and New Girl to Halloween and other paranormal sites. You know, I've got all sorts of stories from Hawaii, where I used to live, and Los Angeles, where I used to live, New York, where I haven't been able to afford to live. Anyway, let me know any stories that you want to find out about, any locations that you want to see, maybe from a slightly different angle. Thank you for watching, and as always, I want to know, what's your ghost story?